My name is Dr. Chelsea Bond. I'm a Senior Research Fellow at UQ's Poach Centre for Indigenous Health. I'm a Mulunjali and South Sea Islander woman. I'm a community member at Inala and I'm a board member of Inala Wangarra.
I'm Carla Brady. I'm from the Torres Strait and Moa Island, connected to the Savage family, and from Fiji.
My name is Dr. Brian Mukandi. I work for the St. Lucia Clinical Unit in the Faculty of Medicine at the University of Queensland.
So Inala Wangarra is a community-controlled organisation, an Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander owned, staffed, managed, run service in Inala. And what we have several services, 9 services that all aim to build the social mobility of our community.
I'm involved in the Roles and Rituals project as lead CI, and I occupy multiple positions here. The project is looking at the way in which an urban Indigenous community celebrates and commemorates an important milestone in our young boys' lives as they enter into manhood. And I have a vested interest. I married an Inala boy. I've got 4 sons and 1 daughter, and I'm really interested in what it means to be an Inala boy for our Inala boys, and what it means to also be a man, and how as a community we celebrate that transition from boyhood into adulthood for our fellas. And so this project is really unique in that it's looking at the way in which racialised masculinity. What does it mean to be a black fella, and in particular a black man?
The Loacha Institute wanted to fund projects that help think about and understand processes of valuing young Indigenous men. And this, and kind of rather than going to things that have been written by academics here and overseas, we thought it'd be fantastic to take something that's actually happening in an urban Indigenous community and showcase that and kind of display this as kind of, if you want to think about how to value young Indigenous men, look at what's happening in Inala. Inala Wangarra is kind of doing this thing, and here's this fantastic model.
We're following a journey of a group of young men who are going through ceremony in an urban Indigenous community. And we're partnering with Inala Wangarra, which is a community development organisation that has had this ceremony in place for many years now. And we're going to sit in and listen and learn from their journeys, explore what it means to be a man from their vantage point, as well as yarn with senior Inala boys around what they see, the sort of how they understand their role as men in our community. And so I'm really excited as a researcher to learn about that experience.
My own research work has, I've thought a good bit about identity. I do some work around racialized masculinities, and I like, and a lot of that work kind of thinks about people of color, how we make sense of ourselves in a context that doesn't always represent us in the best ways. And I think there's this challenge that young people of color have, and it's particularly pronounced in an Australian context with First Nations kids, with Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander young people, where if you're in a context where the public discourse represents you in a particular kind of way, if how you see yourself represented, how you see yourself told in other spaces isn't the best, then the question you've got to ask is, where do you go to draw on a healthy sense of yourself?
Some of the stories that I heard from that, the things that they were facing blew my mind. And I've worked in the social service sector for 20 odd years, and it still blew my mind, and I just want to know what I can do, what Wangarra can do better around that youth space to help our young ones.
And we also want to showcase these stories, because I don't know if it's the ceremony that turns these boys to men. We in our community, we have boys who are forced into the role of manhood before their time because of, for whatever reasons, the life circumstances they've had to endure from a very young age. And when you think about each of the young men who participate in this program all have a really powerful story to tell and to teach us about life. And so we want to honour them and their journey up until this point, and make sure they know that we're walking with them from that point onwards.
Unless they get invited specifically to come and have a table at the ball. But it's just even in the way that we do the workshops, like they're run by local community members like myself, like you, who the kids have now some role models in their lives, and it's all strengths based, and I'm interested to learn about, even though I've gone through this process quite a few times and my 3 eldest children have all been participants of this program.
We're also looking at learning around strength-based approaches to engaging community. Typically our men are framed as problems, as criminals, as threats, as risks, as deficits. We're looking at young men who have endured quite a lot, and we're learning from them, but we're also learning about how do we engage with our mob in a strength-based approach. And a lot of people talk about strength-based approaches to community development, but not a lot do it well. And one of the things I think I'm most proud of about Inala Wangarra is the way in which it takes a strength-based approach as an everyday practice, as an everyday act. And we have a lot to learn from the community workers who do that work in the everyday. And so I'm excited about how this site will also illuminate a broader understanding of how to do strength-based work, and where one of the outputs for that is a bit of a guide for not just service providers but also policymakers around how to do strength-based practice in a very pragmatic kind of way. And to me it's, if we're going to do that, you can't go past Inala as an example for strength-based approaches to communities. And I think the reason we can do that is because the community has always seen itself as strong in amongst all of the hardship. And so, we have we are always learning from our own mob, our own community, about what it actually means to be strong and black at the same time.
I just thought this was a fantastic project for thinking about the work that communities do to kind of affirm, to locate, to be the backbone for young people.